I'm 32, male, and work as a logistics manager for a mid-sized company. My life isn't glamorous, but I'm content, stable job, decent apartment, and a close circle of friends. I've always considered myself a straightforward guy who avoids drama whenever possible. That changed about 8 months ago, and what followed still feels surreal to me. Let me tell you about it. A little background. About 3 years ago, I briefly dated a woman. Let's call her S. We weren't serious. She was fun, lively, and admittedly a bit impulsive. We dated for about 4 months, but it didn't work out. She wanted more commitment than I was ready to give, so we mutually agreed to part ways. Or so I thought. Fast forward to last summer. I was sipping coffee on a lazy Saturday morning when my phone buzzed. It was S. That was surprising enough. We hadn't spoken since we broke up. Her message, though, was what really threw me. We need to talk. It's about my son. I stared at the message for a good 5 minutes, trying to make sense of it. S didn't have a child when we were dating, and even if she'd gotten pregnant right after we broke up, the kid would be 2 at most. Something wasn't adding up. Curiosity and a hint of unease got the better of me, and I replied, "What's going on?" She didn't explain much over text, just insisted we meet in person. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Later that day, we met at a nearby park. She was already sitting on a bench when I arrived, bouncing a curly-haired toddler on her knee. The boy was cute, big eyes, chubby cheeks, but he looked nothing like me. S didn't waste time. "This is Liam," she said, gesturing to the boy. "He's your son." I blinked, certain I'd misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me. He's yours." For a moment, I was too stunned to speak. When I finally found my voice, I said, "That's impossible. We broke up 3 years ago." S nodded, as if she'd anticipated my skepticism. "I found out I was pregnant about a month after we broke up. I didn't tell you because, well, I didn't think you'd step up. But now I need your help." Her words hit me like a slap. She hadn't even told me? "You've had 3 years to say something," I said, my voice cold. "Why now?" She hesitated, then launched into a rehearsed-sounding spiel about how she'd been managing on her own, but recently lost her job and couldn't afford daycare anymore. She needed financial support, and as Liam's father, it was my responsibility to provide it. The sheer audacity left me speechless. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I stood up and walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep. What if she was telling the truth? What if I really was Liam's father? I didn't want to be the kind of guy who shirked his responsibilities, but I wasn't about to hand over money based on S's word alone. The next morning, I called S and told her we needed to do a DNA test. She balked at first, accusing me of not trusting her and trying to weasel out of my duties. I didn't budge. "If he's my son, I'll do right by him," I said. "But I need proof." Reluctantly, she agreed. We scheduled the test for the following week. The waiting period was excruciating. In the meantime, S started bombarding me with messages, some pleading, some angry, and all designed to guilt-trip me. She even dragged my parents into it, somehow getting their number and calling them to tell her sob story. My mom was sympathetic at first, but my dad was skeptical like me. "Don't let her manipulate you," he warned. "Stick to your guns." The day of the test arrived. I met S and Liam at the clinic. The process was quick. A cheek swab for me, another for Liam. The technician assured us the results would be ready in a week. That week felt like a year. S continued her campaign of pressure, even going so far as to post cryptic messages on social media, implying I was a deadbeat dad who refused to take responsibility. Friends and acquaintances started reaching out, some supportive, others judgmental. It was infuriating, but I bit my tongue. I didn't want to escalate things before I had the results. When the clinic finally called, I drove over immediately. The envelope felt like it weighed a ton. I opened it right there in the parking lot. 99.9% excluded as the biological father. Relief flooded me, but it was quickly replaced by anger. S had lied. She dragged me through weeks of stress and humiliation for nothing, and I wasn't about to let her get away with it. When I called S to confront her, she didn't even apologize. Instead, she doubled down. "The test must be wrong," she said. "Or maybe you had a lab mix-up." "Don't insult my intelligence," I snapped. "The results are clear. Liam isn't mine. Her tone shifted then, growing colder. Well, you've already told people he might be yours. How would it look if you backtrack now? You'll look like a jerk who abandoned his kid. It hit me then. She wasn't just entitled. She was calculating. This wasn't about Liam's well-being. It was about money, plain and simple. I decided to take action. First, I contacted a lawyer. S's public accusations could damage my reputation, especially at work. My lawyer advised me to send a cease and desist letter, warning S to stop making defamatory statements. If she continued, we'd pursue legal action for slander. The cease and desist letter was a wake-up call for S. She called me in a panic the day she received it. You didn't have to involve lawyers, she shrieked. You're blowing this way out of proportion. No, I said calmly. You're the one who made this public. You dragged my name through the mud, and I'm not letting you get away with it. Her tune changed quickly. She started begging me to drop the matter, promising she'd delete the posts and stop contacting me. I told her I'd consider it if she issued a public retraction. Predictably, she refused. Do you know how embarrassing that would be for me? She said. People will think I'm a liar. Well, I said, barely able to contain my anger. You are a liar. She hung up on me. That might have been the end of it, but S wasn't done. A few days later, I got a call from Child Services. S had filed a claim, stating I was Liam's father and that I was refusing to provide support. Thankfully, I had the DNA test results to back me up. I submitted them along with a detailed account of everything S had done, the lies, the social media posts, the harassment. Child Services closed the case almost immediately, but I was furious. She was trying to weaponize the system against me. I wasn't about to let her off the hook this time. My lawyer and I discussed our options, and we decided to file a countersuit for defamation. It wasn't about the money. I didn't expect to see a dime from her. It was about holding her accountable. The legal process was slow, but I was determined to see it through. In the meantime, I started documenting everything. Every text, every call, every interaction went into a folder. I also reached out to some of the mutual friends who had initially taken S's side. Once I showed them the DNA results and explained what had been happening, a few of them came around and even agreed to provide statements about S's behavior. S, on the other hand, continued to play the victim. She claimed I was ruining her life and taking food out of her child's mouth. But as the court date approached, her bravado began to falter. My lawyer made it clear that we had an airtight case, and if she didn't settle, we'd pursue maximum damages. The day we went to court was one of the most nerve-wracking of my life. S sat across from me, looking far less confident than usual. When the judge asked her to explain her actions, she stumbled through a series of weak excuses. My lawyer methodically dismantled each one, presenting the DNA results, screenshots of her defamatory posts, and testimony from mutual friends. The judge didn't hold back. He reprimanded S for her dishonesty and manipulation, emphasizing the harm she'd caused, not just to me, but to Liam, who deserved better than to be used as a pawn. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. S was ordered to pay damages and issue a written apology, which the judge stipulated had to be posted publicly on all her social media accounts. The aftermath was satisfying, to say the least. S's public apology was as humiliating as you'd imagine. She admitted to lying about Liam's paternity and acknowledged the harm her actions had caused. The comment section was brutal. People she'd fooled turned on her, calling her out for her entitlement and deceit. As for me, I finally felt a sense of closure. I wasn't thrilled about the ordeal I'd been through, but I was proud of how I'd handled it. I stood my ground, protected my reputation, and ensured S faced the consequences of her actions. In the end, the whole experience taught me a valuable lesson about boundaries and standing up for yourself. Some people will take advantage of your kindness if you let them, but only if you let them. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button, because you never know, next time it might be your ex pulling a stunt like this.